Panda, 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 panda. I got broads in Atlanta. Just took the lean in the family. Credit cards and the scammers. Hitting the licks in the band. Legacies.
The best Netflix movies of 2020 so far, ranked. 2020 has been a unique year for movies. With the summer movie season basically cancelled due to COVID-19, a greater emphasis was put on what new offerings the streaming services would bring us. Netflix is, obviously, the juggernaut here and already had a number of new original films planned for release this year, but also picked up a few acquisitions to increase their quantity of 2020 Netflix movies. Not all of them are great, but as we reach the halfway point of this super strange year, we wanted to look back and highlight the best of the best that Netflix's original film division had to offer. So the Collider staffer put our heads together and came up with a list of the best Netflix movies of 2020 so far. This includes romantic comedies, prestige plays, and action films, which is a testament to the diversity of content Netflix offers. So below, check out our fully ranked list and click here for our list of all the best movies on Netflix right now. 10. The Half of It. Leah Lewis, Daniel Demer. Image via Netflix. It has earned comparisons to Netflix's breakout hit To All the Boys I've Loved Before for a few reasons. They both spotlight Asian American leading ladies, both of which are living with their cool dad after the death of their mothers, and there's even a shared seduction by Yakult moment. But The Half of It is a much more pensive, lyrical, and heartbreaking movie beneath the swooning love story. Written and directed by Alice Wu, the film offers an update on the classic Cyrano de Bergerac, and not in the deeply unsettling catfishing way Sierra Burgess's A Loser did. Wu's touching, gorgeously shot tale finds three teenagers searching for their identity and hungry for their first love, all wrapped up in a messy, hungry love triangle that never feels cheap or exploitative. It's been a long wait for Wu's next feature after her 2004 debut Saving Face, but it was worth it. Gorgeously shot, expertly paced, and filled with characters you can't help but learn to love, The Half of It is a knockout self-aware teen romance that's as bittersweet as the real thing. Hey Leif, ouch. 9. Becoming. Charting Michelle Obama, as she embarks on a star-studded, stadium-filling book tour. Becoming could have easily been a self-congratulatory victory lap, but instead offers something deeper and more uplifting, at a time when we need it the most. Nadia Hallgren's beautifully shot documentary doesn't go as deep as you might expect, but Obama is open and honest about her life and the life that she shared with Barack, including the frustration but ultimate fulfillment with putting her career aside to raise their children and eventually become the First Lady. It also is a wonderful historical document of the ways that the press ruthlessly tore her down. Remember the fist bump interpreted as a terrorist fist jab? Even the New Yorker had an awful cover, and the ways that she stayed true to who she was and worked hard to better herself and her community. You will cry, for sure, during some of her heartfelt stories, but also because of how deeply you miss the Obamas in the White House. In a particularly fraught time, when racial divides seem deeper than ever, also on fire and smoldering from tear gas, it felt like we had made true strides nominating a president that was so different from all the ones that came before him, with a first lady that was unlike any we'd ever seen. Michelle's strength, determination, and good humor feel like a guiding light in these dark times. But what this documentary makes abundantly clear is that she will never stop. And neither should we. Drew Taylor. 8. To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. P.S. I Still Love You. To All the Boys. To Lana Condor. Noah Centineo. Image via Netflix. The 2018 Netflix original rom-com To All the Boys I've Loved Before took audiences by storm, so anticipation was high for the second entry in this trilogy, To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. And while the sequel may not be quite as magical as the first go-around, Lana Condor continues to be an absolute delight as high schooler Lara Jean Covey. Noah Centineo continues his bid to become the next Mark Ruffalo with his charm offensive, and Jordan Fisher marks a terrific new addition to the ensemble as a new potential suitor for Lara Jean. This is very much a high school rom-com, but what sets this franchise apart is how it takes the time to dig into the emotional headspace of its young lead character. There's a reason these movies connect so deeply with audiences, and P.S. I Still Love You is a treat of a film. Adam Chitwood. 7. Miss Americana. Few expected the Taylor Swift documentary Miss Americana to be a warts-and-all portrayal of the insanely famous musician and songwriter, but the film is far deeper than it needed to be. Indeed, the first half of the film does a nice enough job chronicling Swift's career thus far, but it reaches new heights in its second half as Swift decides to take a public political stance for the first time and struggles to reconcile knowing what's right with doing what's right, especially for someone as famous as she. This documentary is basically the origin story of a feminist, and in that way it's a warts-and-all portrayal of the struggles young women face in deciding to stand up and use their voice in a world in which so many simply want them to smile and stay quiet. The intimate look inside Swift's writing process is a bonus. Adam Chitwood. 6. Circus of Books. Like so many folks before you, there's just no way you're gonna know what you're in for when you meet. The Masons are a sweet and unassuming older couple. Married for decades, parents to 3 kids, they're amiable and easygoing folks at the heart of Netflix's stellar documentary Circus of Books. That title also happens to be the name of their Los Angeles business, a hardcore gay pawn shop. Directed by Rachel Mason, their daughter, the film explores how Circus of Books came to be an essential safe zone for the gay community over the decades, how the store ran up against First Amendment rights along the way, and the journey towards acceptance, in themselves and their family. As business boomed, children came of age, the years went on. Captured with all the love, admiration, frustration, and fury of a family, Circus of Books is a fascinating look into LGBTQ+ history and a tender piece of filmmaking from Mason that's an essential watch for any documentary fan. Hayley Ouch. 5. The Platform. The Platform isn't just one of the best Netflix movies of the year, it's one of the best movies of the year, period. This fantastic Spanish genre film from director Golda Gaztelu-Urrutia takes place in a dystopian future within the walls of a prison shaped like a tower. Each morning, a table full of food is prepared for the prisoners. But not all of them get to eat. See, the 2 inmates on level 1 have a few minutes to eat whatever they want before the dining cart moves down to level 2, and so on and so forth. By the time the table reaches level 60 or 70, all that remains is crumbs. Which means that the lower your level, the more likely you are to starve. That is, unless you choose to eat your cellmate. Your level changes every 30 days and it's randomly assigned, so your odds of survival change month to month. This is the premise of The Platform, and it couldn't be more timely, because it asks that the haves and the have-nots work together to survive. The only way to topple this barbaric system and send a message to those in charge is for the dining table to return with one food preserved as an act of defiance. Much like Snowpiercer, it is a foreign language film about class warfare, and as such, is strangely appropriate for our current moment, one that we'll only survive if we help each other and realize that we're all in this together, the people at the top of the food chain, and the starving class below. I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times now, and each viewing is richer than the last thanks to the film's fascinating premise and strong performances, particularly from Zorin Egalia as Trimagasi, the wise old man who knows better than to bring a book as his luxury item. The Platform is a brutal movie, but don't let its violence disguise its meaningful message. The Panna Cotta. I'm already hungry for more from these filmmakers, who have delivered a delicious social satire in the guise of a horror movie that you won't be able to shake after seeing it. Jeff Snyder. 4. The Lovebirds. The last time Michael Showalter and Kumail Nanjiani worked together, the result was one of 2017's biggest indie successes and an Oscar nomination for Nanjiani and co-writer Emily Veghorden. The Lovebirds is a very different beast from The Big Sick, though, as the film, one of several films picked up for streaming distribution after COVID-19 shut down movie theaters this spring, is more of an homage to darker comedies from the 1980s, like Martin Scorsese's After Hours and John Landis's Into the Night. Nanjiani and the luminous Issa Rae star as a long-term ordinary couple whose relationship has frayed to the breaking point. The timing couldn't be worse, though, as a violent incident leaves them terrified to go to the cops, and completely out of their depth when it comes to the criminal underworld upon which they've stumbled. It's a zippy romp that makes incredible use of Rae and Nanjiani's chemistry. As writer Alana Bennett once said, a great rom-com lead is often defined by his or her ability to gaze properly at their love interest. The Lovebirds is a textbook example of that. 3. Crip. Netflix has some great documentaries, as evidenced by their Oscar win earlier this year for American Factory, and 2020's Crip joins those ranks. The film is a story about the slow process of activism, which makes it more than a little relevant right now. It opens with archival footage from 1971 of a camp for disabled teens called Camp Gen before following various campers over the years as they fight for the disability rights movement and accessibility legislation. It's a fascinating and heartbreaking chronicle of how hard it is to enact significant change, especially heartbreaking because in this case that change is making the world accessible to those with disabilities. But it's ultimately rousing and insightful. Adam Chitwood. 2. Extraction. Extraction has two things going on, both very appealing. 1, it is an absolutely raw, brutal powerhouse of an action picture, with aggressively violent combat and a one-take sequence that grabs you by the chest and doesn't let go. 2, it is an interior story about a man trying to regain his humanity when being human means being killed. Chris Hemsworth tackles, sometimes literally, both sides of his character expertly, grounding the trope-laden narrative with uncommonly excellent physical and emotional stakes. His Tyler Rake is a mercenary on the brink of existence, a man who finds nothing worth enjoying in the day-to-days of life, whose capacity for normalcy was beaten out of him some time ago. When he gets the assignment to find a kidnapped child, Rudraksh Jaiswal, and return him, he does so out of grim obligation. It's always fucking complicated, isn't it? Sighs Hemsworth in a line reading that skillfully evades badass for the stronger resigned. And when this assignment spins out of control, Hemsworth must fight for his life, his soul, and his newfound friend's future. Don't get it twisted, this is absolutely a movie where Hemsworth annihilates the shit out of a bunch of dudes, and, in one strange sequence, some teenagers and younger. But it's also a movie where Hemsworth has done his homework, and has given his character's physical struggles resonant emotional stakes. Also, Hollywood. If you're reading, hire Sam Hargrave to direct all of your action movies and then some. The way this guy stages combat is a jolt to behold. Greg Smith. 1. DA5 Bloods. Leave it to Spike Lee to bring us the perfect antidote to an empty summer blockbuster season. The Oscar-winning filmmaker's ambitious Vietnam War drama DA5 Bloods is tremendously moving, stirring, and unwieldy all at once. The story chronicles 4 Black Vietnam War veterans who returned to Vietnam to recover the body of their fallen squad leader and some gold they left behind. The film digs into racial tensions between the US and Vietnam, but also between the US and black soldiers who fought for their country only to return home to find they had even more battles to fight. This is a confronting and ugly film that cuts no corners in showcasing all aspects of humanity, and Delroy Lindo gives the performance of his career as a hardened, bitter man.